What does it feel like to be a woman walking in the world who knows what she wants and who is able to express herself? There's sort of like no limit to what's possible.
Buckle up, ladies, because I have a treat for you today. I would love to introduce my friend, someone who I have learned so much from, someone who has so much depth, is wildly truthful, expressive, and compassionate. Stephanie Redlener. Stephanie is a feminine leadership coach, an embodiment expert, founder of the Women's Leadership Collective, and so much more. This woman does not deserve a box because she's the one who stands on top of the box, screaming on behalf of women, on behalf of our right to express and our right to aliveness. Stephanie, thanks for being here.
I'm so happy to be here. It's always so fun when you hear someone introduce you and you're like, that's me. That's me. So I'm so glad to be here with you. Well, it was funny because we were starting, and I just want to say we were starting, and I was like, let's state our desires for this podcast. Like, what would make it really amazing? And you were just like, let's just do it live. Let's just be raw and unfiltered. So I'm here for that.
Yeah. So, Stephanie, what are your desires for this podcast today?
Okay. My desires is that every woman and person who listens to this podcast leaves feeling more inspired and more brave to be fully themselves in this world, that they get a nugget that hits them in just the right spot, that helps them take the next step, say the next brave thing, make the next bold move that really changes or helps in the transformation of their life.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
I love this. So my desire is to create that space where we can have key takeaways, where people can learn the things from you that I have learned from being in your presence, and that they can just take a big exhale and feel seen, feel challenged, feel turned on, and all of the things. So
Let's do that.
fucking
And
go.
also, I have one other desire
What?
is that you and I have the best time.
Well, I mean, isn't that kind of a given?
I know, but just to state it, sometimes it's better to state it just to put it in the field anyway.
We're here to have fun. So, ladies, if you are walking around with your AirPods on, give the kids an iPad and let's do this. Stephanie and I were introduced. Well, no, we weren't introduced. Like, you came into my DMs and we worked together on a branding project, and we've just we clicked. And for a lot of reasons, I think one, I'm so drawn to authentic people who are their full selves. There's a certain comfort in taking off the masks. And one of the things that is my favorite that I learned from you wasn't when I first met you. I happened to be in New York City last May for one of your lioness dinners. And these dinners, I'm going to paint the picture and then you take it away from here. But during this dinner, Stephanie invites women who are founders, women who are doing big shit in the world to come together and just be themselves with a few twists. And one of those is that during this dinner, Stephanie will have the food out and you, as the guest, are not allowed to serve yourself. So what that looks like is when you want to refill your water glass, you have to ask someone in your vicinity to fill up that water for you. Or when the plates are being passed around the table, you have to point to whichever chicken thigh you want and say, I want that one. And then the person you're asking will put it onto your plate. And this might sound simple, but it's actually so revolutionary because as women, we have a tendency to not verbalize the things that we want, to not even consider what we want. So a typical thing would be like, oh, okay, whatever, like put it on my plate or I'll take that one, this. But to have to stop and pause in a room full of strangers for me and say, I want that, and receive is so fucking powerful, and something that I then brought to a retreat that I hosted in September, and everyone was just completely floored by it. And it's so simple. So Stephanie, tell me about why is it so important for women to ask for what they need and want and state their desires?
Oh my God. Okay. I'm so excited to get into this topic. A couple of things just to ground the listeners. So I've been working with women for about 20 years, and My whole passion is helping women step into their full authentic self, their full power, so that we can be the change that we want to see in the world, so that we can share our voices and our ideas freely, so we can create the world that we want to live in, which is so important right now. I work with a lot of business leaders and entrepreneurs and creative humans in the world. And so I work sometimes in the business context and strategy and all of that. And then I spend a lot of time working in embodiment. So I also work a lot around sex and sensuality and intimacy, helping women get connected to their bodies, because I really believe that it's all connected. So the more that we are centered in our own body, the more we are clear on what we want, the more we are connected to our truth, then we can bring our ideas. Then we can be a better mom. Then we can do that, right? So my world and how I bring my worlds together is helping women get really clear on desire. And I have worked with thousands of women at this stage in my life. And I can say confidently that we're kind of terrible at asking for what we want. And I just like, I've been doing this for a long time, over a decade myself. And it took me a long time to have the courage to figure out how to ask for what I actually wanted, not what I thought was socially acceptable, not what I thought that I should want, but
Oh.
actually what I want.
Oh my God. Isn't that so true? Like,
It's so true.
I've talked about this on the podcast a lot. Like, when I was like in a state of ultimate burnout, parenting, all of the things, I was like, do I want pizza? Like, I
Yeah.
couldn't articulate what was mine, what was society's, what was someone else's. And getting so clear on that with the most basic of questions, I was able to then set my life on a track that felt like mine.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an art form, and it's really beautiful and can be tricky. So if you're listening and you're like, I don't even know what I want, do not fret. It takes time and it is possible. Me, just to share a little bit, my brother died when I was 18 in a tragic accident. And so at 18, I was really given the gift of his death and saying, oh my God, we can die tomorrow and we don't know how long we have. And so I really have dedicated my life to living and have been asking myself that questions. And now at 45, I really can look around that's more than 20 years, but I can look around at every aspect of my life that is designed around what I want. And so I really do think it's possible, one baby step at a time. My hope is for all women to feel like they're living a life that's theirs.
Gosh, I just like want to acknowledge that for 1 second because I was actually thinking so much about like how life makes sense until it doesn't.
Yeah,
Life, you can follow one straight line until something wakes you up or shakes you up, and you realize like it's actually not one straight path. It's not how we've been told it's going to go when you check the boxes and do the things, and then you're guaranteed this happy life. Shit happens, like the tragic loss of your brother.
exactly. Shit happens, and then all of a sudden we wake up and we're in our 40s and we're 50s or whatever, and we're like, wait, how did I get here? If we can intercept that in any way, I think that would be so important and so helpful. But let's get back to the dinner, huh? Let's get back to
Yeah.
dinner. Okay,
Yeah.
so asking for what you want. So one of the reasons I was like, we talk about this is how we get a windy
Mhm.
path and talk about
I know,
everything.
but well, we circled
Yeah,
back. We just
we
did the
circle back.
definition of circle back.
Circle back. There's like, so I already have points of things I want to talk to you, circle back on. So the dinner, one of the reasons that I came up with this idea is because like, I find that so many women that I know and love and respect are terrible at asking for what they want. And we're great at showing up for other people. We're great at helping people with what they want, but it tends to be trickier because it feels more vulnerable to ask for what you want and all of that. And so I thought, wouldn't it be fun? Let's practice this on a small scale, which can also be big, as you expressed, right? So rather than being like, give me that piece of chicken or have somebody serve you, what if you had to actually ask specifically, like, what kind of chicken do you want? What piece looks the most delicious to you? How many potatoes do you want, right? Really starting to get into the practice of one, tuning in to saying, like, what would bring me joy for food, for a dinner? And how do I ask for it? So that's another skill specifically. And you could say, can I please have some chicken? Right. Or you could say, can I please have that chicken on the corner of there? And can you add some more juice on it too? There's lots of ways to ask for you what you want. You can be general, or you can start to get to specific to get to something that you actually really, really want. So we do it with food to make it like the stakes low and to start practicing and to start realizing, the idea is if you can do it with food, you can start to do it in another little area in your life. And maybe you can start to do it in your relationship. And maybe you could start to do it at work rather than being like, I want to raise, or you get specific on what you want, or if you want to change in your relationship, or you want to be touched in a certain way, you get specific on how you want to be touched or what kind of relationship you want. So it's really about taking that small act of claiming your desire through food. And the idea is that hopefully it translates into other areas of your life.
And I mean, and it does. It's wild to me how just that being in that small moment, like all of the realizations pouring in around, wow, okay, what do I want? One, do I want juicy chicken? Do I want the crispier end? Do I want this? And then to articulate it to someone and then to receive it. Like, I think that that is also a part that is so cool. So it's like watching how, yes, you can have this. Yes, you can have that piece. And I would be delighted to give it to you. And like what came up for me about this is that so many women, I know thousands of women who would drop everything for someone else, give them the shirt off their back. Absolutely. I'm going to show up. I'm going to bring dinner. I'm going to do this. But when it comes to asking for help or receiving it, it's like even receiving compliments.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what I like to think about receiving is actually a gift to the other person.
Yes.
It's not just, oh, I think what happens with a lot of women is like, I don't deserve that, or I shouldn't, or I feel bad about it, right? I don't want to ask too much. I don't want to be too much. There's a lot that can come up. But when we actually are able to receive the thing that we want, that adds to the whole experience. So like, let's say you asked for a massage and you're like, I'd really love a shoulder massage. And someone said, sure, I'd be happy to give it. And then you're like, in your mind, I don't deserve it. I feel bad. I shouldn't want it. Like that feels kind of shitty to the person giving you a massage, right? Rather than being like, wow, that massage feels so good. That feels amazing. I'm so grateful, right? That's actually a feedback loop for the other person. So receiving is just not just about you as the person getting it. It's actually also a gift for the other person who's offering to help.
I agree with that completely. And in some ways, we deprive other people of the joy of giving when we're not asking for help because it's one, it creates community, it fosters connection, it deepens the relationship. And it's just one of those beautiful things that for some reason we stopped using our voices about this. And I'm so curious, like, we're here. It's common. Many, many, many women don't know how to ask for what they want, don't know, aren't connected to their desires. But why is it so important to change that narrative? So that moving forward, we know what we want, we can ask for it.
Well, I think it's no surprise that the world is where it is, and there's a lot going on. And I really believe that women hold leadership in their bodies and expression that needs to be expressed and ideas that need to come forward, not just for the benefit of themselves and the immediate world that they live in, but for the world at large. We need women's voices out there and our self-expression. And so I think that that is critical. And, you asked sort of how we got here. I just think we've just grown up in a society that has told us who we should be. And so many times we do things because we think we should, or that's the way. I'm supposed to get married. I'm supposed to have children. I'm supposed to have a great job. I'm supposed to have X amount of children. I'm supposed to dress a certain way. I'm supposed to this. And so everything that we say I'm supposed to or I should just ends up putting a damper and a ceiling on top of us until all of a sudden we're in a box and we don't even realize it. And I think when we get really clear and start to attune to what it is that makes us come alive, what it is we really want, we get the bravery and the courage to start to bring them to the world. And we free ourselves, but also we start to free other people. So I really believe when a woman is free and living free, just by the nature of who she is and how she be in the world, she starts to be an imprint for other women to become free too. So I think it's personal and it's global.
So much of that resonates with me and in my story, and I think the story of so many other women. And so what's on the other side of this? Like you start to wake up to how we have shrunk for other people and then start taking those like baby steps of living with more desire. What does that feel like to live in a world where we are free from those boxes? And what have you seen from working with women and how it opens up and changes their lives?
I mean, well, I'll just speak for myself. I'll speak for myself for a second. I mean, what does it feel like to be a woman walking in the world who knows what she wants and who is able to express herself? There's sort of like no limit to what's possible, right? Like the ability to be like, I want to do this and know that it feels true to me that I actually can take the steps to do it. Or if I ever get myself in a situation that I don't like, to have the confidence to be able to change it, right? So you become sort of a master of your own destiny and you become a creator of your own life in that kind of way. So you really have the ability to kind of do and change and evolve in a way that it does feel true to you. And here's the other thing I want to say is we are the world's creators. Whether we choose in this lifetime as women to have actual babies or not, our bodies were built for creation. Maybe that creation is a book, maybe it's a business, maybe it's a completely different kind of life, maybe it is children. Whatever you choose, like we are literally born to create. And so it's our birthright in many, many ways.
I believe that deeply in every one of my cells. And helping women to remember that is such a vital part of the work that you do. And let's talk about brags. Brags.
Great.
Brags.
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 Yeah.
So that's another part of your dinners
Yeah.
is bragging.
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
Bragging is revolutionary. We as women, we've been told to not be boastful, not be too much. We don't want to outshine anyone. There's lots of narratives that told us why we shouldn't celebrate ourselves. But bragging is actually a technology to one of my teachers and biggest mentors and collaborators, Mama Gina, who really got this tool deep in my system and in my body around how we start to celebrate ourselves. The idea is that there's no brag that is too big or too small because sometimes getting out of bed is a brag. And sometimes selling your company is a brag. Sometimes meeting the person of your dreams is a brag. Sometimes getting a divorce is a brag, right? There's not a brag hierarchy. And a brag, to me, I start almost every single session, every single retreat, every single dinner that I do, every single client meeting and coaching call with brags, because I really believe that it's a muscle that we can build on how we start to celebrate ourselves. But the cool thing about it is I think that when we start to celebrate ourselves and model it, how we celebrate ourselves in our lives, we give permission to other women to do the same. Yeah, it's just very cool of when we start to learn to see our whole life as a miracle and something to celebrate. We give others permission the same.
Okay, so what's your brag, Steph?
So, I really brag that I am in awe of the life that I have created. Every single area of my life, for how I make money, for who I get to work with, for the work that I do in the world, for the relationships that I have, for the circle of friends that I have, for the creative work that I'm creating, every single area, for the way that I parent, every single area in my life has been intentionally designed to meet who I am.
Well bragged.
Thank you. I have
Well
another really good
bragged.
one. I have really another.
Tell me.
Okay.
I need to hear.
I brag that lately I've been really, really deep in my orgasmic practice and building orgasm in my body and focusing on that. And I am watching miracles unfold because of it.
Well bragged.
Thank you so much. It's like,
All right, we need to
okay,
we
we're
need
going to
to
go
go
there.
there.
But before we go there, I need to know your brags.
Okay. I brag that I just launched a new business and that I am putting myself out there again in new and vulnerable ways and doing it differently and without fear and with joy at the absolute center.
So well bragged. That's incredible. Amazing.
Okay.
So good.
And I brag that we're here and having this conversation and
Here
I
we are.
just
This is our
love that.
job. This is our job. It's so cool. It's so cool. Yeah. It's
Okay,
really
so let's
Hey,
give
I
a
will
little
I just want to say one more brag because I brag that today is one of those shit days that just like she was just like busy, felt overwhelmed, kind of one of those days where you're like, this is not necessarily my best day. But I brag that I know the tools, know how to work it, know how to meet overwhelm with trust and sisterhood, that even on days that feel really hard, I brag I know how to meet them beautifully.
well bragged.
Thank you.
It is amazing to think about this, like anyone listening. So you're going to hear this snapshot of our conversation. But what we often don't think about is what Steph had to do in her day before to get here on screen, what I had to do, what my day looked like. And that's all of us. When you show up for your kids, when you show up in other ways for other people or at a friend dinner or whatever, being able to self resource and say, okay, here I am. This is what I have to offer. Be vulnerable about it, and have the presence to be fully embodied and wherever you are is a really beautiful, wonderful thing.
It really is. I was thinking the other day, I was like, there's all this narrative and social is like, you want to be calm, you want to be great, you want to be, chill. But I think it's like we have to learn to be like the weather as women, right? It's like sometimes shit's stormy. And like, how do we be in the storm? Sometimes we've got cool, perfect, breezy weather. How do we want to be there? Sometimes shit's fucking rainy and stormy. We can't even get out of our house, right? So it's like, how do we navigate as women the changing of the weather and the changing, right? It's not about, oh, I'm going to be perfect and happy all the time, but how do we learn to weather life in all the
hmm
ways? I think that's the real mastery and the gift.
I think you're so right about that. And it's being a river in so many ways, like acknowledging the feeling that you have, not letting it blow you totally off course, but sitting with it, being present, surrendering to it, and then continuing to rely on what's true for you.
Exactly.
So there is a book called Pussy that every single person listening absolutely has to read. It is written by Mama Gina. And this book taps into all of the ancestral wisdom of our bodies, how we got here in a patriarchal society, what was missed, what was suppressed in women as creators. And one of the things that I know to be true about Stephanie is that you are so embodied when it comes to your sexuality. And as you mentioned, tuning in to your orgasm, using that to create miracles. You gave me a little taste of this ahead of time. And I was like, okay, well, we are absolutely going there because all of this is connected. So, okay, those listening, yes, asking for what you want, what piece of chicken, being able to receive, all of this applies to our life force energy and how we show up in sexual relationships and how we show up in our own personal expression. So, Steph, you are an absolute expert on this. What's going on? Tell
Okay.
us everything.
I'll tell you everything that I know, and
Tell me everything.
ask me anything. So pussy, you already said it. It's like, this is, I think, women's secret skill is learning to connect to their pussy. And what that means is their pleasure, their life force, their aliveness. And it is a part of our bodies that many women, and again, I'm going to speak from a lot of the clients that I work with that are ambitious, busy, overworked, right? Like running a lot of things, running households, running companies, like doing lots of things in the world, that often pleasure is an afterthought. If I have time, maybe it's Netflix, right? It's just like not a thing that we tend to prioritize in our culture. And I think it holds the keys to a lot of our success, definitely our aliveness and our ability to connect with our intuition, our ability to resource ideas, our ability to feel incredible inside of our bodies. Like, so just to lay it down, women, we have 2, if not more, times the capacity to feel pleasure in our body compared to men. We are literally built for it. Our clitoris has, they say, 10,000 nerve endings now, purely dedicated to pleasure, where men have 4,000. And so, again, more than 2 times the capacity, but it is something that we tend to put off and put to the side. And I think when a woman can start reclaiming her pleasure, she starts to build more aliveness and more life force in her body. And so I work with a lot of women to get reconnected to their desire, not just chicken, more than chicken, to what do I even want sexually, sensually? What is my body even like? What turns me on? What turns me off? All of that stuff. Because I think when we can start living our life in alignment with our pleasure, with our heart, with our guidance, right? With all of these things, then we make better decisions and all of that.
I think that so often I hear of women have run themselves ragged in work, parenthood, and in life from wearing all of the hats. And dare I say, because they haven't been met by a healthy masculine, maybe, maybe not, but I'm going to say that. And the problem is that then as you said, sex becomes an afterthought, intimacy becomes an afterthought. When really, and I think that when I think about like all of the women who I know who are feeling this way, and then they're like, oh, I have no time for sex or I have zero sex. And really, it's their partners don't understand that when they relieve burnout on the behalf of their partner, when they meet them where they are, that their sex lives get infinitely better because women then have the capacity to feel, to prioritize, to tap into their sensuality. And what I'm hearing you say is that it shouldn't be an afterthought, like, okay, let's fix this after we solve the burnout. It's like, let's start here. Let's get connected to our pleasure. And then all of the other things resolve themselves. So I'm fascinated.
Totally. And I want to say in some cases, it's about healthy masculine, healthy not partnership. But actually, I would even say it doesn't even start there, regardless of who your partner is, or if you don't have a partner, we often don't meet ourselves with what we need.
Yeah.
Right. So rather than, oh, I'm waiting for my partner to pleasure me in the way that I like, or this, it's like, how do we start to cultivate that inside of ourselves, whether we have a partner or not? Right. So pleasure is not in relation to if we have a partner.
Okay. Keep going.
Yeah. And so, how do we meet our turn on? How do we even start to cultivate our turn on, our aliveness? How do we start to come back to our bodies? How do we start to reconnect with that which we like? How do we start to, again, feel good and do things that feel good? It's like that's the first question. Because once we learn how to meet ourselves, once we learn how to cultivate our life force for ourselves, then we can teach partners. It's not up to their partners to know what to do before we even know what to do. It's
Right.
like, how do we learn our own bodies first? You know, the thing that Mama Gina and I often talk about is that women, we are like Maseratis. We have these incredible bodies, these incredible ability to feel, to drive, to all of that. But most of us have our fucking Maseratis in our garage and we've lost the key. So the first things first is here's the key
Under a fancy cover.
under a cover, and we're like, "Wait, there's a nice car in
There's a
there?
car under there.
Here's a car. Is that a car? Is that a car?" Right, so it's like, first things first, here's the key. Second thing, okay, now we teach you how to drive. How do you drive your own car? How does your Maserati like to drive? Once you know how to drive your Maserati, then you can be like, "Hey, you wanna drive also?" Right, so
Absolutely. Once, like, because all of this is all connected, y'all. So, like, first knowing what you want, then asking for what you want. So, when you know what's true for you, and then you're in relationship or partnership with someone else, you can ask for what you want, and they will meet you where you are.
yeah, and what the cool thing about
Chicken.
what you want, it gets to chicken. It gets to change. Like what I want today, I'm just talking about let's talk about intimacy for a second to get it specific, right? What my body is needing today in terms of intimacy and touch and connection and all sorts of things is very different than what it might want tomorrow, what it might want tonight, even, right? So it's not like what I want is set in stone, but how do I actually have the ability to start to get inside myself to understand what is true in this moment. So I just want to say what you want. And if you're listening and you're like, "Ah, I don't even know what I want. Just getting in the practice of what do I want right now? What is true for me right now? Right. So I think that's just important to remember because I might want a certain kind of intimacy now that's
Right.
very different from tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, it's like what you said about the weather. Sometimes it's rainy, sometimes it's hot, sometimes it's
Sometimes
wet.
we want
Like,
primal. Sometimes
right,
we want like tender cuddles.
right. And
Sometimes,
that's all welcome.
yeah, all welcome.
So, my question for you is this, and I think that you'll give some really good insights here. For the woman who is stopped connecting with her body, with her orgasm, with her sensuality, where does she begin?
Yeah. Yeah. One is, I would say, just spend 10 minutes with yourself and close the door, lock it if you can, put on some music, and just let yourself be. And you can put a timer on because sometimes it feels good knowing, like, okay, I'm giving myself 10 minutes, and that's very clear. And just to start to tune, if I could have anything I wanted, what would that be? And let yourself just be with the question. If it feels good, you can journal. If it feels good to put on music and just to start to allow your body to move, just like with no other direction than just say, what do I really want? What would feel good for me? Right? To just start to learn to get in tune with yourself. So that's one thing, one way to start.
I love that. Some things. So I just want to give context for someone just getting started with this. Something that could work really well is just dancing in front of a mirror, connecting with your body, with your eyes closed, something like that. Like just moving and knowing, like, hey, you have a body and you're allowed to move it how you please.
Yeah.
Rubbing oil on your body, connecting with yourself.
Oh, I have a
Doesn't even
really
have to
a
be.
favorite one. A favorite one is, most of us put lotion on after we shower. To one really great activity that I love to do that is bringing more sensuality to your body is to put on music. Put on like a slow, sexy song and like put lotion on your body rather than like slapping it on. Take 5 minutes to put on lotion in a really yummy way. So you're just putting lotion on and you're connecting with your body in a way that feels good, but it's very simple. Right. So starting to connect with your body. Another thing that I recommend is creating a desire list. So sitting with yourself and just saying, what do I desire? And just writing a list, no desire too big or too small, just to start to get in the practice of being able to tune in to it.
You know what I noticed, and I wonder if anyone else feels the same way, but like even the word desire is a hard word.
I know I saw
It's
you
easier to
go,
feel.
you were like,
I know. It's like,
what the
no, I did recoil,
Wait,
but
tell
it's
me why.
like,
Wait, tell me what happened. What happened for you when I said desire?
well, I've heard you say the word desire a lot. I try to use the word desire a lot. And desire feels so self. Does you know what I mean? Like so rooted in truth and passion. And it's like giving yourself the permission to want what you want. And so I think that for me, I didn't give myself that permission, didn't have that permission, didn't for a long time. That even like sometimes now, and I think, and I'm fairly connected to my body, but still desire. It's a word that is like, whew,
Yeah.
what do I want? What do I desire? And desire is even the deeper layer, I think, of like what's carnally present for me in terms of what I want.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it has emotion to it. It has,
It has emotion. It's a
yeah.
heavier, it's a juicier word.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and that's what's exciting and scary. Permission to want what you want is something that really, that line is something that I really say a lot. Like you have permission to want what you want because it starts with giving ourselves that permission. And to me, our desire feels like a call from something greater, right? Desire is the thing that we listen to if we were really going to tune in to our calling, to what we are here uniquely to do and to be. That's where desire starts to come in. It has like the connection with that and something greater, whether it's God, goddess, spirituality, nature, whatever we use. If we use something, if that is that's your belief system, that is connected to something greater than us. And to me, I feel like it is our duty in this lifetime to listen to that which we desire.
I believe that very deeply. I feel like the divine works through the feminine. I feel like when we are in our truth, when we are honoring what's true for us and what we want, then the world opens up and it changes. And I think that so much of the stress that I feel about being alive today is how much of it is just a lie, how much in terms of what we've been fed about motherhood, what we've been taught about partnership, what we've been taught is not actually true. What we've been taught about reverence of women is not actually true. Like you look at the Epstein files and it's like, guys, so here we've been taught to be pious, to be this, and then there's a whole world that doesn't actually exist to support that. In fact, very much the opposite. And so by being in truth, knowing what's true for us, we start to recognize the bullshit in others so that we can call it out. We can give feedback or choose that we're not aligned with this. And so I think that so much power unlocks when women are connecting with their body, with their pussy. Pussy, like turn on being an absolute green flag of, okay, yes, I want to do that instead of that, like, no, I don't want to sign up for this PTO thing. I don't want to meet with this person for lunch, and starting to honoring the truth within your body is like just those little baby steps of connecting back with what's true.
Yeah.
And so I love then taking it one step further. What do I want?
Yeah. Yeah.
What do I desire?
What do I desire? And I wanted to say something that you said that feels also that sparked something important. There's two pathways to pleasure and turn on, right? One is go towards something that feels good, right? Like, oh, that feels good. I want more of that, or I feel aliveness there, right? And we want to walk towards the pleasurable thing or feel our way towards the pleasurable thing. The other pathway, which is like might not be as obvious, is to go and move the hard thing, move through. So if you're a woman and you're listening to this and you feel shut down, or you're hearing this and you're getting triggered as fuck, or you're like, oh my God, that can never be me, or I feel numb, or I feel so much sadness. I feel so much sadness. Sometimes, rather than, if like going towards a more pleasurable thing is not helping, it's actually better to go into the sadness, to give yourself space to grieve, to give yourself space to rage. So a lot of times the pathway to pleasure can be through clearing the way of what's in the way and meeting that fully, right? So it's not just like, yay, do the pleasurable thing, right? Sometimes it's like, no, feel the grief deeply and meet yourself where you are so that you have more room to feel more in general. So I just want to give a shout out to any woman who's listening and like, oh yeah, my life doesn't feel all like amazing. And like, let's just be really honest about that. Maybe you need to throw on some griefy songs or some ragey songs and let yourself feel those first. And then it will create more space in your body to feel good.
Well, and yeah, being honest with yourself about what's not working.
Yeah.
Honest with yourself about where your needs haven't been met, where people haven't shown up for you, where you haven't expressed yourself. I think I really love that you pointed that out because that's so true.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you gave 2 tips. You said, 1, take 10 minutes, the door closed, connect with yourself however feels appropriate to you. 2, create a desire list.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then is there what else?
Okay.
Is there
Well,
is there a
stepping
3rd?
around what I just said, there's a 3. There is a methodology that we teach called swamping. And this is a 3-song practice of where you move through rage, 1 song, you move through grief, 1 song, and you move through turn on, pleasure, in 1 song. So you can create a 3-song embodiment practice that will help you feel your feelings and create more aliveness. So that's another thing you could do. We give the other tip of try doing an everyday thing with more pleasure, right? So like putting lotion on your body in a
Yeah,
really
I
sensual
love that.
way. This is also, I really talk about too, again, just to say, I work with real women who have real shit going on. And this concept of 1%, you and I have actually talked about this, 1% more pleasure. Like, how can you bring 1% more pleasure to anything? For example, my office, how can I make it 1% more pleasurable to me? Do I like all the art that's up here? Do I like the chair that I'm sitting on, right? How do I start to look at the areas of my life and how can I add 1%? That's doable. 1% is doable. More
1%
pleasure
doable.
to the thing that I'm doing. And so starting to think about your life in increments can be extremely helpful.
Well, it's like tiny sips of breath, little tiny things that you can do to just get centered, to connect with yourself, and to reinforce the belief that you matter and your desires matter.
Yeah. The other thing is get yourself with other women doing the work. And Ashley, I know you're doing retreats. I do retreats. There's a plenty of women out there who are, have different women's communities, but being part of the secret to my success and the success that I've seen in my clients and the people that I work with is they are not doing this alone, right?
Yes.
So finding ways that you can be with other women who are on a journey, the journey for personal growth, for doing what you're doing, so that you aren't navigating all of this alone is hugely, hugely helpful. So that I would say that is another necessary thing.
I love that, and I believe that so deeply, and I was actually thinking about this a little bit, like, as we're talking about how you work with brands and businesses, and you work with empowered women, and I'm like, "Well, that's very similar to what I do, but I don't feel any competition with you, I feel nothing but love, and it's how can I support you?" And I know that I can show up at one of Stephanie's events and receive, and that is so important. Left that dinner feeling like I could freaking float back to my hotel. I was so on cloud 9 of just feeling seen, heard, connected, and delighted by the experience. And it's just such a good reminder that all of this is available to you by making tiny little shifts through tiny sips of air.
Yeah, and also actually I feel like too, you and I are both full women. It's like we take the time to fill ourselves up, right? So it's like I am not coming to the table with lack or scarcity, neither are you. So I'm not like, oh, there's only room for one of us, or there's this. There's room for all of us. Any single human that gets the privilege to listen to this podcast, like if you walk away with one thing, there is so much room for you to be fully, fully, fully you in this life. And there's so much necessity, right? So, but when that starts to happen, when we feel full, we have this overflow tank that doesn't feel like, oh, I need to grasp or, oh, I need to hold, right? We get to like come to the table, come to a relationship, come to a collaboration with a full tank, knowing there's enough for me and enough for you. And that's just a very different perspective.
The visual that I like to think about it is that it's a fountain and love is like a fountain. And when your cup is full, and then you're just resourcing back to flow. And it's a wonderful, wonderful thing to not be in that scarcity mindset. And when you're always scraping the bottom of the barrel with your own self, then it's very hard to show up in abundance and to be able to give and receive love. So, Stephanie, we covered so much about like those little things that are so, so, so important and truly life changing. And have learned so much just being in your presence. I love that the 1% more pleasure is so true. What's the clutter that you can clear? What's the way that you can connect with yourself? And all of that makes such a big difference because life is about taking baby steps. I want to say something really important is that those are the little things that can get you back into alignment and feeling like yourself. And not honoring yourself in little tiny ways are the same ways that you can deplete yourself.
Mhm,
So those tiny behaviors matter so deeply.
mhm, mhm.
They matter so deeply. The times you ignore yourself.
Yeah, I mean, each tiny behavior is reflective of a bigger, way bigger picture. So if you're ignoring yourself in a tiny way, you're likely ignoring yourself in a big way. If you're putting yourself last in one situation, you're likely putting yourself last in a lot of situations. So how we show up and how we be in the world shows up in a lot of ways. So it's really important to like look at our behaviors.
So, Steph,
Yes.
one question that I ask everyone who comes on the show
Mhm.
is what are you doing to show up unapologetically?
A great question. I am dedicating my life to my own freedom and own self expression and helping women along the way do the same. I am choosing to parent to show my son what it's like to be an empowered mom and woman in the world. I am fucking going for it. I'm just like going for it. I'm going for the life that I want. I'm going for the life that I feel like is cheating, that would feel too good to be true. I believe I deserve it. I believe we deserve it. So I'm just hurling myself into the life that I want to create in the hopes that it will impact others along the way.
Well, I'm here to say firsthand that it does impact others. You have impacted me for the positive and came into my life at exactly the right time. I don't know, it was a couple years ago when
Well,
we met.
I'm so glad you said it
Yeah,
because you know what it was, and this is interesting. This is what I believe. When we start getting connected to our pussy, we start getting connected to our bodies. We start becoming like these like psychic healy connected to our intuition. The like nudges get stronger. You're like, I don't know why I'm going to reach out to that person, but I am, and you start trusting those. I'm not sure why this is happening, but here I go because I wanted to say this because your name popped up. It was some post, it was something, and I was like, "Who is this? Who is this person?" And I went down the rabbit hole of Ashley Logan, and I was just like, "I like her. I'm gonna just fuck it. I'm just gonna reach out." And so I did, and now here we are, like 3 years later or something like that, right? But the reason we're here is because I trusted a tiny little nudge and a tiny little intuitive hit that I followed.
you need to come back and we need to have that be an entire episode. But honestly, though, when you're clear about what you want, when you're tapped into yourself and embodied, things start to happen. And call it manifestation, call it the universe, call it God. It's the people who you need show up in your door, maybe for a moment, maybe for one conversation, maybe for a 3 year and counting journey
Exactly.
of friendship. And when we don't know where it's going, and it's just going to keep going and blossoming and being amazing. But it all started by just listening and trusting yourself that, like, yes, I am going to reach out. Yes, I am going to do that thing. And or no, I'm not going to be in presence with this other person who depletes me. So that balance of the yes and the no is so important. The give, the take, the ability to give feedback and receive feedback, to give the chicken and take the chicken. This is not about chicken.
This is not about chicken, but it starts sometimes about chicken.
Sometimes it has to start with chicken.
Sometimes it does, and that's fine. It's
You're
great.
amazing. So how can people find you, work with you, all of the things?
Okay, so please connect with me on all the socials. I'm sure you'll be sending all the links around. I have retreats that are coming up, which is very exciting. A lot of my work is doing so a couple of things that I have coming up. I'm teaching a 5-month in-person class in New York City called Orgasmic Edge. And this is for women who really want to deep dive study in their body and to feel their capacity as a woman inside of her body. It's going to be amazing. I have
It's
a
incredible.
retreat coming up in May called Embodied Woman. Again, all about women connecting to their bodies. I have a creativity festival for women that's happening in Costa Rica. So there's a lot of very, very cool, I know we have to talk about it. There are a lot of cool things coming up for groups. Also, I do private coaching. I do personal retreats for women who want to get clear on what they want and who want to build their North Star and all of that. So you'll have all the links to get in touch, but I would love to reach out to anyone who feels a call.
I love that. And listening to the call, y'all, that's what it is. It's when you get that nudge, that little turn on, that little voice inside that says yes.
Yes.
That's when you
You're like,
subscribe to the mailing
I'm not
list.
sure
That's when you
why, but
reach
I
out for an
should.
intro call.
But I want to for some reason. Yeah.
Ignore the should, ignore the fear, and then take a step forward because that is the universe whispering to you that there is something for you there. And I got to tell you, the universe does not lie.
No, it's true.
And first it hits with a feather and then with a brick.
Exactly. Feathers are really nice.
I highly recommend a feather.
Listen to the feather, not the brick. Wait, actually, I also wanna say I have, a beautiful, visualization embodiment, practice that I'd love to send to all your listeners if they want that, and it's a way that they can connect with their desires, get in their body, and it's a really beautiful I think it's around 10 minutes, so I can send that too.
Please do. Thank you.
Yeah.
You angel. We would all love this so much, including myself, because even though I've been on this path for a long time, I need constant reminders. I need to connect with people who see me. I need to keep returning to the place of
Yeah. This is not a
that
one and
truth.
done. This is our life evolving and expanding, and we get one thing, and then we learn something else, and then we grow, and then we change, and then we shift, so
It's a beautiful thing.
it is.
Well, thank you all for tuning in. Stephanie, thank you so much for being here. We will post her amazing guide in the show notes, and I'll also post it on my website. Follow along, and we will tag Stephanie so you can get in touch with her. And trust me when I say that she is amazing, you will learn so much. If this episode had you squirming a little bit outside of your comfort zone, take a closer look at that. If you've got any questions, we're both here for you always. I'm Ashley. This is Stephanie, and we are unapologetically yours.